I'm poor.
I moved
I think they're ready.
Go ahead now. Are we on right now? Do I get to count down?
Right there. I'll count you down.
Okay. Oh, all right. Thank you. I can't see you.
You're ready. Yep, right there, sorry.
Did we test Shauna's mic?
No, everyone's good.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear both. Everyone's good. Yeah. Sweet. 15 seconds.
Hello and welcome to Five Towns College Studio 400 series. I'm Holly Hare and we're pleased to have Shauna Narayan with us as a guest. She is a Five Towns College graduate. She graduated about a year and a half ago and she's working in Maine as a reporter and anchor, and she's here to tell us all about it. And joining us in the studio are some Five Towns people and also members of the broadcast news writing and reporting class, which Shauna actually sat in right before she graduated. So she's here to offer advice and tips and tell us what it's like out in the real world. And why don't you start by telling us a little bit more about where you work in Maine and what you do?
Sure. So I'm in Bangor, Maine right now. Really far out there, lots of snow. So I'm at ABC 7 and Fox 22. I'm an MNJ during the week, and on the weekends I'm a weekend report anchor and producer too. So I guess I'll start with the MMJ part. It's a lot, it is. I write, I edit, I shoot all of my own stuff. So basically I get to work. I'm kind of like a 9 to 5. I get there, we have a morning meeting, they tell me what my story is. So we do a package and 2 VOSOTs, sometimes more, a day. It's a lot, definitely being an MMJ, not having a photographer, not having people write for you. So time management is super important, that's like key. So I go out, I normally do, a package first or vice versa. And then I sometimes come back to the station, I'll import what I can, I'll write what I can, and then I'll go back out, to what time my next story is. And then I like to be back by the station by like 2 o'clock, and that's when I just do everything. If I have time to log, write down what everybody says word for word, I'll do that. Most of the time you don't, because you just, MMJ life. But yeah, I'll do that, and I like to get everything done. Well, we have to get everything done by 5 o'clock, so we have a 6 o'clock show. And then I have to put everything on the website and all on social media. So it's definitely a lot. I mean, there's people there, if you're really cut for time, other reporters will help you write or something, but it's just, like I said, time management is key, and editing, you kind of got to be really quick at it. So that just comes with time. I remember my first day there, I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to get this. And then 3 weeks into it, I was like, bing, bam, boom, done. So I will say, let's see, a package probably takes me 20, 25 minutes to write. To edit it, about 15, 20 minutes. Now, when I first started, good Lord, it took me 3 hours. I had no idea. VOSOTs, 10 minutes tops to write and edit. You just, like I say, you get used to it over time, and it gets easier. And I'm in a small market, so I'm so glad I started there, because if I would start somewhere here, I probably would have got chewed up and spit out right away. So they're just there to help you. Like my news director, my assistant news director, they're used to reporters coming and going and learning and making mistakes, and you definitely learn from your mistakes, you grow from them, you learn from them. And so that's kind of the MMJ kind of reporter aspect of it. On the weekends, like I said, I anchor, and I also produce the show. That's really difficult, because I never did anything like that. I was used to anchoring like I did here. I was like, okay, I got this. But you're putting a whole show together. It's an hour show on the weekends. It's 10 o'clock news, 10 to 11. So I kind of do the whole rundown. I start with local news, nationals, those feature stories, and just finding all that. And I have my reporter who I have to send out, and just timing out the show, I have to keep in mind. The anchoring part, that's easy, because once you're done reproducing, whew, okay, all I gotta do is read now. And it's fun though. I have to say, absolutely love it. People always say, what do you like better, reporting or anchoring? I love anchoring, just I feel like that's what I knew because of here, but reporting I love too. I just going out, meeting people, like creating your own story. I think it's really fun, so I love it.
It's kind of interesting. We have a lab now that we didn't have when you were here. So when Shauna was here, we had a TV club that we threw together so that Shauna could have some on-air experience and some of the students who were here previously could have some on-air experience. And now we have a lab that people have to take, which is pretty much TV club.
Oh, okay.
But people go out and do some stories, and this semester we introduced some producing aspect of it too.
Oh, nice.
So that it's interesting that you said you had to produce, because I didn't actually know that.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyone who's in my lab,
Yeah.
this is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Is there something you want to show?
Yeah, we can show. I think started with a package. This is I actually did this. I did like 3 packages. They're like all fairly new. I did it like last week. This one was Thursday, I think. There was a shooting, and it was a cop shot a guy. It was kind of almost like my first hard news story. There's not a lot of breaking news in Maine. It's a small place, but yeah, I'm pretty proud of this. It was pretty cool. And someone actually sent in like a Snapchat video, so I use this as like a beginning nap pop. So I'll let you play it and I'll talk about it.
That was a scene early Thursday morning in front of a graveyard on Old Town Stillwater Avenue. Sirens and flashing blue lights woke the neighborhood, and things escalated quickly.
I just heard them yelling at the car just to drop the weapon.
I've got 3 kids, and it's so close to my home. That's scary.
Neighbors living on Stillwater Avenue were shocked to hear a shooting took place right near their homes.
I've been here 4 years, and no, nothing like that.
Just after 3 a.m. Thursday, Officer Joseph Ducato of the Old Town Police Department stopped an out-of-state pickup truck.
The stop led to an armed confrontation, which resulted in the death of the driver, Adrian Bunker, 37, of Merrimack, New Hampshire.
Officer Joseph Ducato, who's been with the Old Town Police Department since 2017, has been put on administrative leave, according to Deputy Chief Miller.
Maine Attorney General's office is investigating the incident. It does so in all uses of force, shootings by law enforcement officers.
Residents say they see car accidents on Stillwater Avenue here and there, but never anything like this.
It makes me really scared for the safety of my children to think that somebody actually pulled a gun. You know, what if my son, you know, I've been walking him to school today, and he could have been shot. That's scary.
Samantha was concerned after her child's bus never came.
But here it is, 7:30. There's still no bus. The school had posted on their Facebook page that something happened.
Reporting in Old Town, Shauna Narine, ABC 7 and Fox 22.
Yes. So
You weren't kidding about the snow. It is snowing already.
yeah, it snows like every 5 minutes there, I swear. It's not fun. So yeah, that was an ongoing thing. It happened at like 3:30 a.m. One of the morning reporters were there, and then I came in, I kind of switched with him. And I mean, starting out, I really didn't know anything. They didn't say anything. He basically said, you know, it's a shooting, that's all we know. So when it comes to live shots with that, and you don't know anything, you're pretty much like, yeah, this is what it looks like, and you kind of got to go for a minute and say what you know, and we'll have more information. I'm still getting used to that, doing the live shots when you actually have like no information, but you got to do something. So throughout the day, we knew more, and then they held a press conference, like you saw that police officer talking, and then this was actually all I did that day, because it was obviously the top story of the day, and that press conference was at like 2 o'clock, so I didn't get back to the station until almost like 3:30, and it was just crunch time from there. But I wrote my story, and then someone, like I said, actually sent in that Snapchat video of the cop saying drop your weapon, so I thought that was really cool to start out with. And then just kind of going into the story, like I said, I'm new to kind of hard news, but you just kind of, it's all facts, you know, what you know, and make it as much as into a story and not just boring, you know, for the viewer. So that's why I ended that video in it.
Excellent. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, hold on.
So I'm curious about your life. What was it like moving from here all the way to Maine? Like, what was that like for you?
So I never lived away from home. Obviously, I was here at 5 times. I wasn't like a student living here, So it was definitely a huge adjustment. I never in a million years thought I would move away from home, like ever. And then I was actually applying for jobs like 2 months before I graduated, and I'm like, man, I think I do have to go away. So I had different options. There was Texas that wanted me, Indiana, West Virginia. I was like, oh my God, like that's so far. And then I heard from Maine, and when I talked to my director, he was so nice, and he kind of just like motivated me to go. So I was like, okay, I'll go. So I went like the beginning of August with my parents to find an apartment. And I was like, okay, it's nice here, like it's cool. It's totally different from New York, my goodness, even the people. And then I moved back, the end of August, and then I started. It was a big adjustment, it was. I was like lonely in the beginning. I'm like, I have absolutely no friends or family, and I was nervous to start work. I'm like, am I gonna have friends at the station? And we're literally like family now. We almost like have to be because we have nobody else. But I like it. It's, like I said, the people are different. There's no traffic, which is amazing, unlike here. So that's a plus. And yeah, I like it. Everything's really close by. Like I thought I was gonna be moving there. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be living next to cows and horses. Like, but there's stores really close. Everything's 5 minutes away. There's colleges there, so there's like there's a downtown that's really fun, and it's fun. I like it. I mean, now that people ask, would you ever live, outside of New York? I'm like, yeah, I would. Obviously, I like it here. My family's here. I love Long Island, but I like it. I feel like everybody should definitely go away and experience that. And like I said, it's a small market, so it's great to start in a small market, for sure.
Does anyone else have a question at the moment? Go ahead, Ross.
Hi, I'm Ross Perlow Hansen, a mass comm major. I started actually in high school. I went and did an internship at LAU Post for like radio and stuff. So in terms of just the technical aspect of what you've learned, and obviously we learn a lot here, but making any mistakes, what was the biggest thing to learn and kind of grow from as you take to this job?
That's a good question. So when I was here at 5 Towns, we almost started the editing process like my last semester, and like cameras and stuff, that's when everything kind of here started to really pick up. So I didn't really have that much experience. When I was interning at News 12, I didn't really work the camera, which I kind of regret. I wish I learned more about that. Here, we used Adobe here, right?
Yes,
yeah, so I knew that. And Final Cut, Adobe, I use Edius now. They're all kind of the same. I mean, buttons in different places. But I kind of went into like my first day blind. I felt like I was like, oh my God, I know absolutely nothing. I was with a photog for my first 2 weeks. I literally had to learn like how to turn on the camera, how to white balance. I was like, oh my God, did they make a mistake hiring me? Like, so I made a lot of mistakes my first like 2-3 weeks, which they expected. We're all new. I never, like I said, I never used Edius, had absolutely no idea how to do that. And then when I went off on my own with the camera, I made so many mistakes with that. Sometimes I forgot to hit record when I did an interview. My first couple of times, I was like, oh my gosh. But technical wise, it takes like a good 2 months, I say, to get really like good at it. But I honestly feel like you learn from your mistakes that you make. But it's definitely just a learning process, the whole editing and technical and things like that. But it's good that you guys are here and have all this now, hands-on experience. Do as much as you can, honestly. It will only help you.
Any other questions at the moment, or do you want to play another clip?
Yeah, we can play another package. I think this is like the first snowfall of the season, kind of like a fluffy package, but typical about what they do, oh, we have to do a package about the first snowfall of the season. So I somehow am always a snow reporter. And I hate the snow, but you can play it.
So the one right after this is one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all guilty of leaving some sort of package in the front seat of our car.
This one's holiday safety. Yeah.
Or without covering while we're shopping. Ellsworth Police Chief Glenn Mosier says you're making thieves' lives a whole lot easier.
Oftentimes, it's an opportunity for thieves to come along and get into those vehicles and take those items.
Your safest bet is to leave your items in your trunk away from thieves. Another important tip, which a lot of women are guilty of, is shopping and leaving your purse in the cart while stepping away to look at an item.
For over the years, we've had many individuals have purses and items stolen in that sense.
He says always be aware of your surroundings, and carrying cash is always a safe bet, but don't flash your cash.
Will prevent any sort of fraud or opportunity for thieves to get a hold of your account.
When having packages delivered to your home, make sure to log the serial number.
If you do have the misfortune of getting something stolen, we have a snowball's chance of actually being able to recover the item.
One shopper says keeping places like your shed closed is important too.
Years, but people break into my sheds, and one time I lost a snowmobile.
And you may think you're in the clear once you have all your gifts on Christmas morning, but those boxes you throw away outside is like putting a bullseye on your home for thieves.
You can cut the cardboard up and bundle it so it's not as obvious as what the items are.
Reporting in Ellsworth, Sean O'Neill, ABC7 and Fox 22.
So that's kind of like another typical package we have to do holiday season.
What do you do if, and this is sort of a situation here sometimes, there's nothing to cover, especially on a weekend when you're producing and you have one reporter and you still have to fill the time. How do you come up with something?
That's hard. So yeah, I have one reporter on the weekend, and I usually send him out to get packaged in 2 VOSATs. Sometimes I'm like, if you can do more, that's great. But we have a sister station that will send us what they do, which does help. On the weekends, it's tough. I do sometimes have to bring over stories from the day before just to fill the show. But we also pull a lot of national packages. If there's ever something nationally going on, I try and tell the reporter, can you somehow localize it, And I think that's always a great idea to do. But,
explain a little bit about what that means, localizing a national story.
Yeah, so let's see. I mean, there's always shootings and stuff going on, unfortunately. I remember I did one after, I think it was like the February one or something. It was kind of big. I went to local school. I asked, what would you do in this situation? I went to police officers. So it's just taking something that everybody knows about and how can it relate to your community, pretty much. So we do a lot of that. You have to find your own stories a lot, so that's helpful.
You have to find your own stories a lot? Okay.
Yeah, so I have an assistant news director he's awesome. He usually gives us his stories, but sometimes he's like, sorry, I didn't have time, like, go find your own. I'm like, okay. In the beginning, that was hard because I was new. I'm like, I don't know anyone, I have no contacts, but you meet people every single day and you grow your contacts. And I look through the paper, I'm like, all right, what's going on? What's going to interest people? And I look at our Facebook, I'm like, what story always gets the most likes or shares? And surprisingly, it's always fluffy bunny stories. So I'm like, all right, what's going on like that? And then I'll just find a story. I'll go on Facebook, what events are going on, how can I make it interesting? It's just talking to people when you go out, the gym, any sort of activity you do, you just meet people and they tell you stuff and you just make contact. So sometimes it could be difficult, like I said, because I didn't grow up there. Whereas here, I would be like, okay, I know this person, that person, I know what's going on there. But thankfully, we do have a great assistant news director that gives us great stories.
Excellent. Do you want to show this next one?
Yeah. This is a snowfall one.
It's the sound we're all accustomed to and always happy when we see them out after it snows. Bangor Public Works had a pre-storm briefing Thursday night ahead of the snowfall.
4:30 this morning, when it started snowing, we made the phone call and everybody started to come in and get their trucks ready to go.
Public Works Director Eric Willett says this past week they had all their supervisors drive around to inspect the roads and look for any hazards.
Pick up construction debris and make sure all the cones and stuff are out of the road, smooth over any joints that were left over from paving projects that we haven't finished yet.
There's over 40 plowers working right now, and Willett says they will stay working until it's all done. Businesses like Fairmount Hardware in Bangor have been seeing lots of customers come in and buy shovels and car scrapers.
Everybody, I don't think, was really prepared if it was coming or not, but and we had all the product on hand.
Dave, did you prepare for this?
Yeah, no, not really.
It is snow. It is white, it is snow, and the clouds. I am just buying some shovels here.
Hartstone says while most people bought salt and shovels, not many people bought roof rakes just yet.
The big item is later is the roof rakes during midwinter.
Stratum Tires said they've been busy with people coming in and getting their snow tires changed over.
This time of year, it's really a good idea to put your snow tires on. So you can be safe when you're driving, especially in these conditions.
He says the demand this year has been big for snow tires and appointments are filling up quick.
Right now, we're booking almost a week ahead. So, people that wait for the last minute, unfortunately, they're not going to be able to get them on as quick as they probably would like.
For some younger Bangor residents, snow is just for playing, not shoveling.
Sliding down the big hills.
Reporting in Bangor, Sean O'Neill, ABC7 and Fox 22.
So this was a story I had to find. That day. And like I said, I'm always somehow the snow reporter. I don't know, I hate it, but whatever. So he's like, yeah, I don't know what you're doing today. Go find a story. I'm like, all right, for snow, like, what am I going to do? I contacted the tire guy. Well, people need rakes. I'm going to go to the store. And it worked out. I got some MOS, which is man on the street. Just saw people shoveling. He was the grandpa with his daughter. I'm like, oh, let me talk to him. And it turned into a package, you know. It was quick turnover. And that guy in the store, he said, oh, I'm buying shovels. He just walked in and just like happened to say that, so I was like kind of shoot my camera there. Normally I would have a mic and set it up, but it just worked out, and it always feels good when that stuff happens on the day that you have no story.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Hello, my name is Imani Jenkins, and I was wondering exactly where did you find the courage to pretty much go after somebody when interviewing them?
Like an MOS type of thing, like just randomly on the street? Yeah. Yeah, that definitely took me a while to get used to. To be honest, I'm like a shy person, and going up to people isn't really my thing, but when you're on deadline, you kind of do whatever. I mean, you just get used to it. Some people hate the camera, and they see you pretend they're on the phone. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I guess I'm not going up to you. But sometimes I'll just stand in the middle of downtown Bangor and just look around for people, like kind of spot out who I think would be great to talk to. I seen an older gentleman with his granddaughter. I'm like, okay. Usually kids are great to talk to. They have some cute little sound bites, and I went into that store, and that guy happened to be there. Sometimes people will be like, oh, yeah, I'll talk, and I'll put up the camera. They're like, oh, no, I'm walking away. And then they'll have great sound bites outside of the camera, and then when you put it on, they just freeze up, which is totally normal. I wouldn't want someone coming in with a camera in my face, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm just like, all right, like, I have to get this done, so I have to go and talk to someone. And it works. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but sometimes when it does, it's great. People love people. And in your packages, if you can have as much people as you can, that's great. I mean, officials, they're officials, so they'll say this and they'll say that. But if that first package I saw where that lady was like, oh my God, like my kids, I have kids, yada, yada, that was great. And she had some really good sound bites that I'm glad I got, I walked and got MOS, so that was cool.
Now, were there other reporters at the one with the shooting, and you got the lady who's like, my son goes to that bus stop?
Yeah, it was actually
Were there other reporters there, or was it mostly just you?
There was another reporter. I was lucky I got that lady by myself. She just so happened to be like coming out of her house. The other reporter, she was doing a live shot during it. But sometimes, like, we actually work really well with our competitors. We're actually like all best friends. But if we see like the other guy in that package, the MOS, we both knocked on his door and we're like, hey, can we like team up and interview you? So that was cool. But I mean, obviously, getting one on your own is better. And then I think there was another woman in there, or the young girl. I just saw her, kind of looking, and I was like, hey, were you there? And she was harsh. She's like, no, I'm absolutely not talking. I hate the camera. And I was kind of like making her come through. I was setting up the camera. I was like, oh, please, can you do this? And then I was like, you just have to like warm up to them, make a conversation with them, not scare them. And she actually ended up being a great interview. And she's like, oh, okay, that actually wasn't bad at all. And you just have to make them feel comfortable, not stick a mic in their face and just like scare them off. So that takes a little bit to get used to.
Any other questions?
He does.
So in all this news and all these different things, how do you really determine for you, and is it not just based on social media, but making a story really newsworthy? Because the packages you showed, they did seem really interesting and like engageable, but how do you get that?
So making it like newsy, or yeah, that sometimes could be difficult. Like I said, it's Bangor, Maine. There's so much like breaking news, but when there is, I mean, you just have to find some sort of twist to it. That could be tough, but like that story, I spoke to other people, or the holiday safety, I made like what's dangerous about it. You just have to find little angles to not make it fluffy, and maybe talk to an official and see what types of statistics are out there, and that could be difficult sometimes, but you just kind of gotta make it work.
Did the holiday safety one, because sometimes here, the Nassau or Suffolk Police will send out a reminder, like remind holiday shoppers to hide their packages in their vehicles and not just like put your stuff in
Right.
the vehicle and go back in. Did you have like a release to work off of, or was it just sort of an idea?
No, it was kind of just an idea. Like I said, those are typical packages like that season, like the first snowfall. So I just so happened I contacted the sheriff. I'm like, hey, can you talk to me about this? And then I got MOS, like you've seen, and I try to make it a little newsier, just asking him, okay, after the holidays, you know, like the garbage outside, you know, people didn't really think of that. They're like, oh, that's a good idea. I usually leave my plasma TV box right outside. So I thought that was kind of cool.
And do you, at this point, I'm sure, like you said, you've built up contacts because you've been there for a little while. Are you just able to call up the police or the sheriff and say, hey, I'm doing this thing on holiday safety, can you talk today? And are they pretty much, oh yeah, Shauna, come on down?
Yeah, they're pretty much like that. I actually have, I think it's a drug story I did. It was a sweeps piece, which we do every couple of months. And I wanted to do the drug epidemic, because obviously, unfortunately, it's big everywhere. But I wanted to do kind of like a positive aspect of it, like what are people doing? There's a road to recovery. There actually is help out there. So I contacted a bunch of sheriffs and cops and things like that, and it actually turned out to be a great sweeps piece. And everybody liked it because they're like, oh, you didn't really show like, oh, drugs are everywhere, yada, yada. I showed like the road to recovery. People are getting help. Where are these places, you know? So that was really cool, and I was proud of that one.
Explain what sweeps are.
Yeah, so sweeps are, it's like November, February, and like March or something. It's like ratings month, where each reporter has to do a special series. It's usually 2 parts, and you always have to come up, you know, with a newsy about what's going on, what you think people would be interested in, and kind of just roll with it. A reporter I work with, she did a great one where she followed EMS for a day, ambulance, and that was a great package. Mine this past 2 months ago, I think, we had a huge storm last year, the October windstorm. It was affected all of Maine. Power was out for like a month. So I did a year later, you know, what did people learn from it? What did power companies learn from it? I spoke to people who still have damage, and that turned out to be a great story too. It's just, you have to think about what people are interested in, and it always makes for a great story. So that's kind of what sweeps is.
That's great advice. Think of what people are interested in, even when we're doing stories around here. Why don't I show the Road to Recovery Part 2, which is right here?
Yeah, I think if you click it, there should be a Part 1.
Okay.
I don't know. Or if you scroll to the side. But in Part 2, if you go back, and then that arrow right there. I think it's here. Okay. It should be. Yeah, this one.
Oh, okay, cool.
So this I live wrap. When you do sweeps, you normally live wrap your package. Is just basically talking like an anchor intro into your package. So this was this one. Recovery centers in the Bangor community want people to know that there is hope and help for those battling addiction. I spoke with a variety of treatment centers who have been helping more people each year overcome that addiction.
3 people have been arrested in connection with 3 heroin overdoses.
Now, first responders used Narcan to revive the trio. A note to an employee demanding prescription drugs before fleeing the scene.
3 people have been arrested in connection with 3 heroin overdoses in Washington County.
So Operation Hope is a program to assist people with drug addiction.
Wellspring's been providing substance abuse treatment and recovery services in the Bangor area.
All the jails in the state of Maine are flooded with people with addiction, particularly to opiates.
Wellspring Recovery Center, Operation Hope, and even the Penobscot Jail are just a few of the treatment facilities that help people who are addicted to drugs.
The first client came in on Halloween Day in 1968. We've been providing treatment services there ever since.
There are different programs that Wellspring offers, one being the residential program, which has different phases, like how the brain functions when someone is addicted to drugs.
How does the brain get hijacked in this process, learning their own triggers and their own strategies for addressing those triggers.
Campbell says people may stumble along the way, but it's a good way to learn from that experience.
What they need to do differently so that they don't encounter that same type of event again. They may continue with treatment in outpatient status over here at our outpatient program, and hopefully they're well connected into the recovery community by then.
The Waterville Police Department, along with many others, helps with people battling addiction. The program is called Operation Hope.
It helps them get into treatment programs, treatment residential facilities, or IOP, intensive outpatient programs, anything like that.
Smedberg says they've seen an increase of people coming in.
In 2017, I think we helped 32 people, something like that, and now we're up over 50, and it's only April. We're on track to help more people than we did in 2017.
Even jails like Hancock County, who offer help with inmates who battle addiction, have trouble with funding programs, but try and make it work.
You know, we're limited as far as dollars and cents and services that are available. But we have counseling that comes in. We have medical staff that comes in and works with people, through withdrawal and all those types of things.
He says if an inmate is willing to get help in jail, they will work with them and even try to help them once they leave.
We work with people who are willing to try to take that step towards healing and getting better.
Tomorrow in part 2 of Battling Addiction, The Road to Recovery, I sit down with 2 recovering addicts who want to help inspire those struggling with addiction to get help.
So yeah, that was part 1. So that was, like you've seen, just what's out there. And then part 2, I spoke to, like I said, 2 recovering addicts. And I don't know if you want to play that one, or if you don't have
Sure.
to. But even kind of watching that back, it's so different, because that was, I think, February, and I just see my voice is so different, and just how I shot it was different. So it shows like how much you grow from then to now. And I look back to some of my first packages, I'm like, how did I ever get hired? I don't know, but it's cool because you could just look back and see how much you grew. So that was cool to see.
Does anyone have a quick question before we play the second part?
In part 2, I spoke with 2 people who overcame addiction and shared their story about why they decided to seek help and why they want to inspire people to let them know that there is hope and the help that they need.
Cocaine on occasion, there were prescription drugs like Adderall.
I battled drug addiction and alcoholism for a little over 20 years.
Robert Fickett, peer support coordinator at The Barn, which is a recovery center that supports the needs of people affected by addiction, says his road to addiction started at a doctor's office.
I became addicted to opioid pain medications, and when seeking those out didn't work anymore, I started looking for them on the street. When I couldn't find that, I started using heroin.
Julie Chambers, a person in long-term recovery, says her addiction started when she obtained a fake ID at the age of 19.
Started going out and drinking because that was a bit of, I felt that it was a bit of freedom at the time.
Chambers says a big part of her addiction was her mind frame.
I think that a lot of how I grew up influenced me, how I chose to be shaped by my experiences, how I chose to look at the world and life.
She says her urge to stop using happened at the age of 24.
I really just got really tired of waking up and feeling the way that I did, which was really hopeless and really didn't want to wake up.
Fickett says hitting rock bottom motivated him.
I definitely hit a bottom. That was a long time that I knew I needed help, and I wasn't quite sure how to go about getting help.
He made the move up to Bangor because he knew there was a vibrant recovery community here.
When I got here, I really was just surrounded by people here at the barn, who told me that I could have a different way of life. So I made a go at it.
For Julie, she was introduced to Reiki, which is a form of energy healing. And she says it gave her something to put her hopes towards and made her realize she could help other people.
I went to the barn as mostly support for other people. And I guess that was one of those subconscious things because I really like the way that the 12-step programs were set up.
Both Chambers and Fickett said there are so many options for recovery, sometimes people don't know where to start.
There's so many substance use counselors, there's so many grants out there though. We have, the detox facility in Hamden now. There are so many options. The hard part, I think, is getting yourself into the culture where you can learn about these things or finding a person who does know about these things because the options are out there.
Fickett and Chambers don't want people to give up hope.
The most important words I ever heard, me too. I've been there too, and you don't have to do it alone.
It absolutely gets better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. It will, because if you're being honest with yourself, you're going to have to deal with a lot of the guilt and the shame that you're dealing with, which means you're going to have to dig into it. but it's worth it because you can go to bed at night, lay your head to the pillow, and know that you've done the best that you can do throughout that day.
Reporting in Bangor, Shauna Narayan, ABC7 and Fox 22.
All right, so a quick question. You do ABC7 and Fox 22. You're on both channels or do...
Both channels, yeah.
Is that your sister station you're talking about or is that something else?
It's something else. It's basically, our sister station is in Portland. This is literally the same stories, just on ABC7 and then same story Fox 22. Like we have the 6:30 ABC7, then 10 o'clock on Fox, and 11 o'clock ABC. It's the same stories, so.
Do you have any words of advice to students who are looking to get into this?
Definitely take everything you know here and really just do everything you can, be as hands-on as you can. If you're in an internship, great. Learn as much as you can there, ask as many questions. Here, like I said, you guys are lucky. I feel like when I first started, you know, it was just getting started, the studio. Now you have the cameras and editing. Learn as much as you can, really like know it backwards and forwards. Practice on your writing, make it as conversational as possible. And I think just, you know, learning, and Holly's a great teacher, so she can definitely help you.
Thank you. So that's it for this broadcast of the Studio 400 series. I want to thank Shauna for coming. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And
thanks, guys.
Thank you to my classes and other guests for being here, and also thank you to the Mass Comm students who are running this whole production. So signing off right now. Thanks also for anyone who joined us online. All right, so we still have some class time left over.
Okay.
Does anyone have any other questions for her?